What's going on, guys? It's Freeslane back here, and I'm bringing you guys another Pokemon video. In this video, we are going to be looking at the water bubble Pokemon Araquanid. Now, this Pokemon might seem like it's a strong, frail spider, but looks can be deceiving because this Pokemon is actually very tanky. It's got 68 base HP, but that's coupled with 92 on the physical defense and 132 base special defense. This Pokemon has a higher base special defense than Umbreon, which is just insane. Now, as for the attacking stats, it's got 70 on the attack, 50 on the special attack, and 42 base speed. So it doesn't seem like it's going to hit very hard, but we're actually going to take a look and see how we can use this Pokemon's ability and moves in order to manipulate that so that we can actually pump out as much raw damage as is physically possible. Alright, looking at this Pokemon's typing, Water Bug. We actually have never seen a fully evolved Water Bug type ever up until the 7th generation, because the only water bug type we actually had before was Surskit, which evolved into Masquerain, which was bug flying. So this is actually really cool. The 7th generation did introduce two new water bug types, being Araquanid and Golisopod. So this is actually a really good typing because you've only got 3 weaknesses to electric, flying, and rock. Now, the rock weakness is kind of annoying because you do lose a quarter of your health every time you switch in on stealth rocks, but if you have a Pokemon that can remove entry hazards by using rapid spin or defog, then you can use that on your team to help Araquanid out, and that way you can keep as much HP as possible. And you also get 5 resistances, which is really nice because you resist water, ice, fighting, ground, and steel. And we're actually going to take a quick look at its ability, which actually gives us another resistance to fire. So 6 resistances and 3 weaknesses, which isn't that bad at all. Speaking of its ability, let's take a look at it in Pokemon Showdown. The new ability is called Water Bubble, and basically this is a combination of 3 different abilities just mixed together in one. Pretty much, first part is that your water type moves are doubled in power, which is pretty much like the water type version of adaptability. Also, you can't really be burned at all, so that's great because you're going to be a physical attacker, so you don't want your physical attack getting cut in half. And at the same time, you're also going to be taking half as much damage from fire type moves. So they basically gave you half of adaptability, half of thick fat, and a water veil, and just called it Water Bubble and gave it to this Pokemon. So it's actually a really good ability and one of the best abilities given out in the 7th generation. So, looking at this Pokemon's base stats, what you're going to probably want to do is you're going to want to give this thing a choice band. And the reason why is because you're pretty much going to be spamming Liquidation almost every single time. The reason being is that this move has a base 85 power, but because of your water bubble, it actually gets doubled to 170. Now, giving it a choice band means that it's going to go from 170 to 255. Now, if you use this Pokemon in the rain, your Liquidation is going to have a base power of 383, which is just insane. 383, that's stronger than a Stab Explosion, which is just absolutely insane. So this Pokemon can definitely pump out tons of damage, and I highly recommend using this Pokemon on a rain team. So maybe get like a Pelipper or a Politoed to set this Pokemon up, and then just keep spamming Liquidation under that choice band and the rain, and you're going to be doing tons of damage. You're going to be finding a lot of one-hit KOs. Very few Pokemon will be able to survive this, and pretty much anything that you hit neutrally or definitely super effective is gonna go down in one shot. It's absolutely amazing. And for other moves you can also run Leech Life, which is your other stab option. Now, 80 base power does get a 50% boost to 120. It doesn't get doubled just because it's not a water type move, but you still get stab on it, and you recover 50% of the damage that you deal, which is pretty nice. Also, this Pokemon gets access to Poison Jab, which is great because there's a lot of fairy types running around, so this is a great way to just counter that. And the nice thing about this is it also gives you a 30% chance to poison the target, and Crunch just a way to round out with some dark type coverage and a 20% chance to lower the target's defense by 1 stage. Now, the thing that's actually interesting is that even if Crunch and Poison Jab hit for super effective damage, they're only going from 80 base power to 160, and a neutral Liquidation goes from 85 to 170. So even if these two moves hit for super effective, you're probably going to end up going with Liquidation anyways, especially if you're using this Pokemon under the rain. So basically the only time you would go for any of these other moves is if Liquidation gets resisted and the other move hits for super effective, usually. Now, looking at the EV spread, normally I would say max out the HP, max out the physical attack, and give it an adamant nature. But we're actually going to do something a little bit different. We're going to give it 216 EVs in HP, max out its physical attack, give it an adamant nature, but we're going to throw the remaining 40 EVs into speed. And what that's actually going to allow us to do is that's going to let us outspeed Marowak, which is a Pokemon that's been running around a lot lately. This Pokemon's very deadly because if this thing hits you with like a super effective Stone Edge or even just a really strong move, then you could potentially go down. So we really don't want that. And the nice thing is that this is a normal standard Marowak set. You can see that level 100 has a base 128 base speed, and Araquanid with this EV spread can have a base 130, and at level 50 you'll actually outspeed it. I believe Marowak has a base 66 speed at level 50, and Araquanid happens to have 67, so you barely outspeed it at level 50 and level 100, which is really nice. So this is pretty much the standard set. This is the set I use on my Araquanid. If you watched my first showdown video, you would have noticed I actually did use this Pokemon on a rain team, but there are other ways you can run it. Since this Pokemon is very tanky, you might actually want to run a bit of a bulkier set. So on this set, I decided to give this Pokemon leftovers. Obviously we're going to be going with Water Bubble because it's such a good ability, and for the moves I figured Toxic, since you want to be a tank, so you're probably going to want to badly poison your opponent. It also gets Aqua Ring, which is really nice because you recover another 16th of your health every turn, so that plus leftovers means you're going to be gaining an 8th of your health at the end of every turn. Liquidation, because it's still going to be very strong even if you're not investing in your attack. That base 85 move is going to go up to base 170. It's a lot of base power. It's a really strong move. And Leech Life is nice because it's another stab option, and you also gain 50% of the health that you deal to your opponent. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that it does have the Water Absorb as its hidden ability, which lets you heal up to a quarter of your health when you're hit by water type moves. But at the same time, even though it's a good ability, it's not as good as Water Bubble, especially not on this Pokemon. So for the EV spread, just to give you guys kind of an idea, you're going to want to max out the HP, so you can have about 340 at level 100. And you can max out the physical defense and give yourself a positive special defensive nature, like a careful nature to increase your special defense but lower your special attack, which will actually put you at 283 on the physical defense and 330 on the special defense. Now, if you wanted to just commit to pure special defense, you could do that, and you can have almost 400 special defense at level 100, which is just absolutely insane. Personally, I like to run a bit more of a mixed spread, but it's completely up to you. You can run it how you want it. The reason why you add the positive nature to the special defense and not to the physical defense is because you're going to be gaining 10% more on that stat, and since it's higher as a base stat, then you're going to be gaining more out of that than if you were to switch it around and put it on the physical defense. But that's pretty much it for how to use Araquanid. It's a very strong and tanky Pokemon, and it definitely shows how one ability and a few little tweaks can change a Pokemon that doesn't seem like it can hit very hard to just an absolutely devastating Pokemon. This Pokemon pretty much pulls a Talonflame, and it can be a tank if you want. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like and make sure to subscribe if you enjoy what you're seeing on this channel. Share this with your friends if you found this helpful, and that's about it. I will see you guys next time. Peace.